Alright guys, hello everyone. We just received some new patch notes and the Goblin event and the Mother's Blessing events have also gone live. Well, actually Mother's Blessing is later, so a lot of people are asking about that, but that will be probably in 4 days. So far we have just been trying out to find some goblins. I didn't have much luck yet. People are saying that they find goblins here and there, sometimes even multiple in a single dungeon. So I'll keep you guys updated about that once we get there. But for now, we have patch notes. There is no date for this patch yet, but there is a lot of really good stuff in there that I have summarized here on the side. But there is a lot more like little details, gameplay fixes, bug fixes, whatever, that you can read up in the full description, so you can go check it out. But the big stuff. Number one, Stygian stones were buffed. So that is something that we have been waiting for. Here are the new numbers. Tier 1 is a 5% drop rate. Then tier 40 is a 10% drop rate already. And tier 100, 18%. So it's kind of like scales up as you go higher now. This is exactly what a lot of people have been asking for, including myself. And I'm really happy to see that they have changed this. If I had to guess, the drop rate before this patch was probably even less than 5% all the way and didn't seem to scale at all. So this means a lot more Stygian stones, a lot more tormented boss rotas you can do now. And, well, the market is probably crashing, to be honest, because people are going to have a lot of stones now, suddenly, after this patch. Then they've also adjusted the pit bosses. So this sounds like they made them easier, but it doesn't really say exactly what happened here. They just said adjusted the damage of boss powers and boss affixes. It could also mean that they, for example, buffed the bosses themselves and maybe nerfed the shadows a little bit or something like that, because I felt like the real bosses didn't really do much, but it was all the shadows that were really dangerous. I guess in general it's probably easier though. But yeah, some cooldown adjustments as well, like they changed some individual boss abilities as well to like show up less often and stuff like that. Another cool thing is the pit now remembers the last tier, so you don't have to scroll all the time when you're farming, which is great. So you can push up and then don't have to worry about, doing that all the time. Another kind of big change here is a bit of a nerf to some aspects or some affixes that we can have on our items. So they're actually listed down here somewhere. Basically, all of the affixes that have 2 effects at once that include a duration have been slightly nerfed. So I see this here, for example, Scoundrel's Kiss, extra attack speed for 4 seconds after dodging an attack. And more importantly, probably that a lot of builds are using is the chance to make enemies vulnerable for 2 seconds. So those affixes were scaling twice with masterworking, once with the chance or with the damage or whatever they give, and once with the duration. And that duration buff was actually unintended. And yeah, kind of surprising when we actually found it out. So that has been fixed to only buff the main effect, not the duration anymore. What this means in practice is that especially builds that rely on this chance to make enemies vulnerable will probably have to, for example, get a second roll now, or they have to really have a lot of lucky hit, a lot of attack speed, for example, to really trigger this effectively. For example, Heartseeker rogues do that on the higher end. They go for this aspect, go for this affix instead of, for example, a cursed touch aspect. Although it won't really be a huge difference, I guess, because either you just get a second roll of this and you're fine, and you have to give up like 1 roll on 1 item basically, or you just go for example, a cursed touch or some other ways to make enemies vulnerable. But this is something to keep in mind. This is going to get nerfed, and you want to prepare for this accordingly. Then we also have another pretty big fix here. Bosses can now drop greater affix uniques. So this is something that we discovered shortly after the season start, that none of the bosses drop greater affixes outside of uber uniques. So Shaco, etc., they could drop with greater affixes, but everything that was in a boss loot table could not drop with greater affixes. So this has also been like tested and tested again and again, and a lot of people have already like noticed that. And this was actually unintended, it turns out. So apparently bosses will now also drop greater affix uniques, including the non-uber uniques. That's kind of big stuff as well. Then we have some other smaller changes here. So grandfather is being changed. The indestructible affix can no longer be hit with greater affixes or masterworking, and existing grandfathers will be rerolled if they had this. So the greater affix or the masterworking will go to another stat, it turns out. So that's basically straight up a buff to the item, which is kind of cool. A lot of people were also confused because whenever that happened, this indestructible affix just disappeared on the item. So that is also no longer happening then. No more duplicate manuals. They also like shorten the name now, so there's like easier to parse. Some other small bug fixes there. They're fixing the Andariel invisible beam again. That was already in the last patch, but apparently not good enough. Eternal Realm sparks are being fixed. At least for me this happened as well, where I just don't have my 7 sparks from last season on Eternal. So those are coming now for anyone who doesn't have them. Lots of small stuff. And also guaranteed 9 dungeon sigil from the capstone boss. So there's also some cool stuff, at least for like first character of a season progression. Basically, you now no longer have to go and do whispers and maybe get unlucky and not find any sigils from those after doing the capstone. So that's kind of cool. What is not changed, or not mentioned at least, are boulders. So right now the boulders is still bugged, and especially the double casted boulders are purely cosmetic and actually do 0 damage. So that is something that still needs to be fixed. No change to rapid fire. A lot of people have been complaining about the last update to that build feeling kind of clunky to aim because everything goes in the same spot. So nothing happening there so far. Victimize is also still unchanged, so rogues rejoice, they're not getting nerfed just yet. And Holy Bolts also not being adjusted, so especially Minion Necros will like that one. That is also so far not getting fixed. Yeah, that was the entire patch here, at least the highlights. There's more stuff in there, as I mentioned. You can find the link in the description. Otherwise, I'll keep you guys updated if there's anything else. Again, we don't have a date for this yet. I assume this is probably going to be, yeah, maybe next Tuesday. Otherwise, the Tuesday after that. Usually it's Tuesday when the patch notes, or when the patches drop, so 11th or 18th of June is the expectation here, I guess. Yeah, that's it for the summary. Hope you enjoyed this, and see you guys next time.